joining.
Good afternoon, good evening, good evening.
Welcome, everyone.
Feel free to take your phones or devices off of mute. Let us hear your voices.
Got a quiet group so far.
Do we have one brave soul that'll let us hear their voice with a good afternoon?
Good
That's not very nice.
Good evening. You can say good morning too. I'm open to that.
Yeah, maybe that was the trick. Nobody wanted to say good afternoon. They wanted to say good morning. Let's see. That's just to you. That's not to everyone.
All right. How's everyone doing this evening? See a few people with their hands raised.
All right. You could take your phone off mute if your hand's raised.
I just wanted to raise it and say that both the chat and the mics were disabled, but now that the mic is on, but the chat is still disabled, it says.
Oh, let me take a look at that.
I thought I just sent one. Are you seeing the chat that I sent?
I can see the chat that you sent, but it says I can't send anything.
Oh, okay.
Well, bear with us. We usually have someone else doing beside the scenes, but I'm doing it this time. We'll figure it out.
Well, that's a first. I haven't ran into that one before where it said you couldn't chat. Can someone try to send us a few chats to see if it's an option? All right, it looks like audio is just becoming available for people. So
Okay, you guys hear me at all?
yes.
Okay, because I was so confused because I couldn't say anything and I can't write anything in the chat either.
Yeah, so let's do this.
I'm allowing everyone to talk.
Yeah, this is it. I'm gonna go down the list as well. We're gonna allow you to talk. Sorry about that. Somehow it didn't automatically activate everyone's ability to speak. So I think it looks like everyone is good to go now.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again. Good afternoon, everyone. Anybody like to say good afternoon back?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That's where my
Oh my gosh, I was feeling so
Come on.
lonely. I was scared. I'm like, man, they don't like us anymore.
I'm like, yeah, done too many of these.
Evan, I was like, I know Evan wants to say it. I know he wants to so bad.
Oh, I couldn't say anything because the
Okay.
chat wasn't working and I couldn't talk because the microphone wasn't appearing for some reason.
That
All
was
right, guys. Well, we'll want to be respectful of your time, so we'll go through just a little bit of housekeeping real quick. We do want to have engagement with you tonight. We absolutely have a topic that kind of requires you to engage with us as we kick off the school year. Really appreciate your time, and then also we will have the chat feature open. The Q&A box will be available, and also you guys know how we work here. Just feel free at any time if you want to ask a question or if you want to speak. just use the raise your hand feature and we'll make sure that your voice is heard. But we do want to interact with you a lot tonight and make sure that we give you guys some good energy going into the new school year or the new semester. All right. We usually do 3 positives. We try to look 3 people to give us something positive. Use the raise your hand feature if you'd like to share something that's positive that's happened for you over the last week. And we got Michaela, come on in.
Hi, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Michaela Walker. I go to UW Milwaukee. I'm pursuing a degree in geosciences. It's more than just this week, but this past year, I checked 4 things off my bucket list. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Congrats.
I didn't mean to raise my hand again.
No problem.
In case I need them to upload them.
All right, there was a Jordan that had the hand raised. Maybe that was an accident.
I had to unmute them, so I don't know if that was left over from that. But
Okay,
Evan,
Mr. Evan?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I basically have no new news to share. I came back from vacation about a week ago.
Man, we're jealous.
I basically slammed the whole time I was there because the house is right near a lake. So, that was nice.
that's
Well,
awesome.
we would like that as well.
Oh, so would I. So would I.
I'm waiting for my invite next time, Evan. Where was it? You lost the mail?
If you could, hey man, if you could play the plane ticket, you can come next time.
All right, sign me up.
All right, last one. One more. One more positive, something positive. Well, I'll give some news. My son has 2 less teeth now. So his first 2 teeth fell out in within a 2-week period. So hopefully we got some dentist, some future dentist on here. So it looks like we do have one glitch tonight. Audio seems to be good now, but our chat box seems to be a little odd. So we're going to do something kind of odd tonight. When we're wanting to use the chat feature, we'll actually use the Q&A feature. So we'll just pivot. We'll just pivot and use Q&A box to kind of chat instead of using the chat feature right now, since we have a little glitch. Other than that, I'm gonna let Paul kick us off here, and we'll get rocking tonight, guys.
All right, I think I may have just fixed the chat if someone can confirm that. But I'll go ahead and share my.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
All right.
You want to share the screen, Paul?
Yes, sir. Let's do this.
All right. Well, I don't think we don't need a lot of introductions. You guys know Paul and I. We've been working with you for a while here. Today is Ready, Set, Motivate. We got a new semester. I'm very proud of you all for continuing your collegiate progressions. I know it's been a very challenging last year and a half for all of us, and especially for you students. Sorry. And especially for you students. So we definitely wanted to just have our first session as more of a encouragement session and a chance for us to reflect on maybe some of the challenges we're facing, so we can leave this session feeling more encouraged and ready to tackle the challenges that come with this year. So we'll go ahead and move forward, Paul. Let's do just a small icebreaker real quick. Use the chat feature and let's go with how many college students are projected to graduate in the US this year. Let's see how our I think it's going to be a little more than that. Use the chat feature, throw in a few numbers. Ooh, we're climbing. No percentage, total number of graduates, collegiate graduates this year. Numbers are climbing. The numbers are climbing. We're getting there. Oh, oh, now we got some really big numbers. All right, let's see what we got, Paul. Somebody said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we got 4.4 million. And the reason that that we put this one up here is because we want you to know that it's possible. There's 4.4 million people who are going to cross that finish line and on to greatness this year. And you're not alone, right? So there's 4.4 million graduates, but there's tons more of just students that are going through the same process that you're going through. But it's just encouraging for me to see that 4.4, to know that that many students are going to cross that stage this year. And I know a few of you will be one of them. If you are a projected December or May graduate this year, feel free to throw it in the chat feature so we can celebrate with you. And if you are going to graduate and you would like to use the raise your hand feature to scream out your graduation date this December or May, feel free to do so. Do we have any potential graduates this year? All right, so what we'll do is we'll move forward, but in the chat feature, if we have someone that's potentially graduating next year, and when I say this year, I do include May of 2022. I'm calling this year. There we go. Maybe I didn't make that clear. May 22 counts. May 22 counts. All right, Jordan.
There you go.
Jordan, if you're available, I hate to call you out, but if you are available, you or Carmen, I'd love for you to take your phone off mute, and I'd love for you to say that date out loud. Uh-oh.
I think I hear someone trying to talk that's breaking up.
Yeah, I think someone was trying to, I think Jordan was trying to say something. Audio didn't come through clear enough. We'll try it again a little later, Jordan. All right, let's keep going, Paul. All right. So love for you to use the raise your hand feature. As you go into this semester, some are virtual, some are on their campuses. What are some of your concerns right now as you're going into this new semester? Feel free to use the raise your hand feature or the chat box as well. We'd like to hear from you. What are some of your concerns right now? All right, we have a health concerns. We got projects. Man, you already have projects, Jordan?
Man,
Says yes.
man.
Understanding instructors. Stephanie, could you be a little more, you want to give a little bit more detail on how you want to understand the instructors better? And anyone that'd like to take their phone off mute, please feel free. We love to hear your voice. You can say it out loud as well.
Hello, I'm Stephanie. So my serious concerns would be being able to deal with instructors who would hopefully be understanding towards the students. I think that's where I'm kind of going with that. Because sometimes instructors are not always understanding. So.
Awesome. I appreciate that feedback. That is awesome feedback. We do have some instructors online. If any of our professors that are online I would like to get Deja's feedback here, and then if you give a chance for you to think about it, if you'd like to step in and give some feedback maybe to our students about what some of the things, you know, from a university that you're at, or just in general as faculty, of what type of things you're doing to try to meet your students where they are with the difficulties that we're going through now. So I'll give any professors a chance to kind of think about that if they do want to speak up. But I'll go to Deja real quick.
At the start of the semester next week, I actually will be 8 months pregnant. So
Okay.
that's probably gonna be my biggest challenge. I reached out to 2 of my teachers. One of them was, you know, we kind of just developed a plan on how things were gonna work. But my other instructor, you know, I'm kind of having difficulty trying to reach out to him because it doesn't really seem like he doesn't want to, like, you know, work or accommodate me. So, you know, I'm worried I might have to drop the class.
Well, first off, let's start with congratulations.
So thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Congratulations. My wife graduated with her master's, and at that time she was pregnant with with our son. So definitely an awesome experience. I will say that, you know, just a bit of advice there is, you know, make the best decision for you. I hope that you're able to get some clarity and some understanding with your institution and those that you need help with. If there are any administrators online that know how to maybe help guide you through this situation, I don't want to call out any universities or things like that, but if
Right.
there's anyone that can provide at least any feedback or maybe some guidance on that, put your information in the chat feature, and then Deja can reach out to you so we can make sure we at least try to help guide you through this process. And then you know, and like I said, the bit of advice for me is always make the best decision for you.
Right.
You got to take care of your health and your well-being and your family first, but we do want to make sure that we keep you on this path the best way that we can to continue the education and cross that finish line on the greatness.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. But kind of going back to that statement, any administrators got any feedback on maybe some of the things you're doing, maybe some of the things your university is trying, and then if you did have any guidance maybe for Deja as well on maybe how she can communicate with her institution on her birthing a child here soon and how to manage that maybe.
Brian, this is Marie. And
Hello, my friend.
listen, I come from or started with IUPUI in the math department. And we would usually always have students that would come and say, I need to change my class. And you know, you have so much time to go ahead and add and withdraw. But one of the reasons is because they couldn't understand the professor. The only suggestion I have is to change or look for a professor that someone can recommend or that you can see your options. Naturally, it's going to be different days, different times, but that's the only suggestion that I can go ahead and offer is to, like, let's say, for example, it's Math 153. Look at that Math 153, see who all the instructors are. You can always go ahead and pull them up online and make a change within that specified time so you won't get charged. That's one option that students can go ahead and do. Oh.
Hey, Brian, you're muted.
Are there any things that you're seeing institutions trying to do to help improve communication or manage the combination of virtual, or, you know, those that are doing kind of maybe both virtual and in-person schooling this semester? Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things that we wanted to list up here was just a few items just to kind of gauge, get your mind thinking about maybe some of the concerns that you may be facing right now. You guys did a wonderful job of sharing already, so I thank you in the chat feature. Those are awesome bits of feedback. One of the things we want to do is just give you some encouragement and help guide you today to the point where, yes, these can be real concerns, and that's natural. That makes us human. But at the same time, we know that 4.4 million people are going to graduate this year. So we can push through some of these things, and we want to help guide you through that. We'll go forward, Paul. All right. So let's go through some ways to stay motivated. So before we list the ways to stay motivated, throw out a few suggestions that you employ or that you've seen work for others as it pertains to navigating, this first semester of college this year. Feel free to take your phones off, your devices off mute, and use the raise your hand feature. All right. Come on through, Michaela.
I guess this is less about being motivated, but more about like I stay motivated by staying organized. So like once I get, this is like a super common tip, but once I get the syllabus for all my classes, I put them in my planner. And then as I go through the days, I cross off the day because it feels like once I'm done with that day, I can mark it because I completed it. So it feels good and you can kind of like celebrate that.
That's awesome. Michaela, I would love for you to actually type that in the chat feature. And I highly recommend, others take advantage of that. Thank you. That's awesome feedback.
Yeah, and you say it's simple, but I know a lot of people don't do it. But it is those small wins when you're crossing off. It feels really good. So thanks for sharing that.
Looks like we had an awesome chat that says take breaks. Don't forget to have life outside of school. That's absolutely important. And it's a challenge, right? As a professional, I'm in there too, where, you really can get caught up in what you're doing and forget to take care of yourself, take care of your well-being, have that mental relaxation to keep yourself fresh as well. Any other feedbacks on ways that you stay motivated, things that you've seen work for you or for others? And we'll go ahead and list a few of those here, Paul. So I'll just touch on a few. Reflect on the past. You may say, Brian, what does that really mean? How does that keep me motivated? Well, the reason I say reflect on the past is you're where you are because you've already accomplished something else. So you've gotten here because you've made certain milestones. You've reached certain milestones already. So reflecting on the past could just remind you that you can do it. For those that say for instance, and I know this might be a terrible analogy, but those of you that are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to 4 years of undergrad and 2 years of a master's and 5 years of a PhD or something like that. Oh my gosh, that's 11 years of school. Well, you kind of just went through 13 to 14. So, and you did that without like being an adult and knowing really what was going on in the world as a young age. So it's possible, you just did it. So you can reflect and say it is possible. And I did go through all of this schooling. And college to me is a lot more cooler than middle school, high school, and elementary. Establish rewards. It's okay to recognize yourself and say, if I get a certain grade, if I complete a certain assignment on time, please reward yourself. It's okay to do so. And then also, self-care. We just talked about that. Find out what are the things that relax you, the things that bring you joy. It doesn't have to be a cookie cutter approach with this. It could be something as simple as, hey, I'm a gamer. I like to play video games. And so you ensure that a certain amount of time each week is spent just playing your video game, or if it's going out to play soccer, if you like to cook, don't forget to stop cooking. That may be that connection that you have with home, or just something that reminds you of your past and puts you in a good peace of mind. Sometimes you may do one of those self-care or relaxation moments before you begin a study for a difficult exam or something, just to kind of relax you and not be so uptight mentally before going into a study session. But I'd love to hear just a little bit more from you, at least one or two people. I'd like to hear from you based off of, now seeing some of these ways to stay motivated, but I'd like to hear your voice on what has worked for you. You may have had a challenging time and you were able to push through because you did this thing to stay motivated and stay in the race.
I think Emma put something in the chat. She said, surrounding yourself with people who encourage you.
Oh, I support that 100%. I'm like, as I'm maturing, I'm super focused on good energy, being around good people, protecting the energy that's around me is so vital. So we'll keep going there, Paul.
All right, so talk a little bit about resilience. So I know as we were talking about some things that we're going through, whether it's projects or tough professors or all different things, there are going to be times where it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. We're going to fail because that is the way life is. Fail is inevitable, but at the same time, that's where resilience comes in. So I want to share some key reasons for resilience and then talk about how to build resilience as well. So why do you have resilience? It leads to success. So a lot of people talk about people who are overnight successes. I'm here to tell you that that does not exist. There's no such thing as overnight success. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background and we may only see it overnight. And there's a lot of things you have to go through and power through. There's also the part of resilience building character. A lot of the times when we're going through things, for good or for bad, we can let it and it goes into the next one. We can let it to make us better or make us bitter. So when you look back, as Brian was talking about, looking back at your past accomplishments, or even looking back at your failures are something you can learn from. And from my personal experience, and you guys may agree with this as well, I think I learn more from my failures than I do from my successes a lot of the times. And resilience is also key for focusing on the future. So a lot of times we get into, it's easy to get down on ourselves when we fail, we're in the moment, and we don't think we can do this. But when we're looking forward, focused on the future, that is why resilience is key. But I'll open it up as far as to anyone else. Any thoughts about resilience, or have you thought about resilience as you've gone through?
So Paul, one thing I want to put out there before we get any hands raised is, we think about I need to be resilient when something goes wrong, right? Or a tough situation happens. Let's start to change the conversation though. Let's talk about resilience before the moment is there. Let's actually build up our resilience before the moment. So when the moment comes, it's already kind of part of our DNA and we know how to navigate it. Is that something that you guys think could be beneficial to you? And maybe in the future, would you like to know more about how to build up resilience and how to prepare for those moments even before they happen? All right, I got Michaela says, yes, a self-esteem and resilience workshop, great feedback.
Nice.
You know, it's just something I was thinking about when I was listening to Paul, like, man, we don't really talk about doing this in advance.
Yeah,
It's like when it happens, hey, let's be resilient. Well, I haven't built those resilient muscles up yet, right? You got to get the resilient muscles up.
hmm hmm And I'll say, Brian, part of the resilient, like I think one of the first steps for resilience is realizing that failure is going to come. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the more you do it, the more stuff you do, the more likely it is to come. And it's just kind of a mental switch that when instead of seeing failure as something that's bad, but seeing failure as an opportunity to learn from it. And I think that's really the first step. Michaela,
Awesome. Looks like Michaela had her hand raised as well.
yeah, go ahead, Michaela.
Yeah, I think this is really important. I think you should do a workshop on it because, I mean, in the education system, like if you fail a class, like it affects your GPA, it affects your financial aid. So it's really hard to be resilient when it's like affecting your life and like how you progress in school and other opportunities you can take if your GPA is lower or master's school, like going to get your master's.
Yeah.
So like, I think sometimes it's more than just like how you feel. It literally affects how you live.
Yeah, it does have some adverse effects. So that's true. Very true. Good point. Yeah, that's something that we can take back. Maybe we can have it at the conference as well. I know I've presented some stuff about resilience. And I'm just taking a snapshot of it for this presentation, but that's good feedback. Then Emma wrote something. Parents have said, use your failures or obstacles as fuel to your fire. I like that. All right.
Awesome.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
So just a couple things. Resilience is not really something that's developed overnight. It takes some patience, takes some time, takes practice. The biggest thing is the self-discipline side of things, as far as being intentional and making those steps. So I know Brian mentioned at the beginning about setting those goals and what you're trying to do and making sure you're prioritizing them. And that's really a key part of resilience is so I know Michaela brought it up, if you fail a class or you lose your scholarship, just keep the end goal in mind. I know I have stories of failing tests or classes. I have one of my best friends, it took them 7 years to get through undergrad. I mean, it's really about the motivation and the drive that you have to keep going. I'll focus more on the self-discipline and why self-discipline. I like this quote. It says, successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do only occasionally. And that's from John Maxwell from his book, Developing a Leader Within You 2.0. So really what that's talking about is that with self-discipline, it's a routine, stuff that you're doing, whether it's what Michaela mentioned earlier. I use that example about filling out your planner and checking off all the different activities that you're doing, or maybe being in a study group, or reviewing stuff right after class, or reading the material before class and after class. Or it's really in the preparation and in the execution that the self-discipline comes in. I'll say self-discipline is the best thing about, well, not the best thing, one of the key things about self-discipline is that even when you do fall off the wagon, like I have on there, because there will be times where you forget or you oversleep or something happens. It's that self-discipline says that this is what I set out to do. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to give up just because something happened. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I know someone mentioned earlier in the chat about surrounding yourself with friends or people who motivate you. That is a key piece, as far as I think we've all heard the quote, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. It really is true, as far as, especially when it comes to self-discipline, staying motivated. It's not impossible to stay motivated when everyone else is doing something different, but it is incredibly harder. So even if you don't have someone in your particular school or location, I think even reaching out to people virtually, I think that's why LSAMP even in the virtual space, that has been key because there are people, even maybe they're not in the same school as you or even in the same location as you, but you still have that network that you can reach out to. Any thoughts on self-disciplines or questions about it?
I guess we can also reverse the question. Have you had moments in your collegiate career so far where you had the lack of discipline and it burned you, and you had to have a hard lesson learned? Because I think we can also we can help others by sharing maybe some of the times where this was a challenge for us.
Very true.
And that transparency, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but just being transparent can help someone else. And the fact that you're sharing it means you overcame it, and you move forward. Because I know I've been there before. It's this is a hard process, and in college there's a lot of things that require your discipline. And the fact that you have kind of your own schedule and things like that, this is not easy, right? This could be extremely difficult. So I love some feedback on either end of that spectrum. And feel free to use the raise your hand feature so we can hear your voice.
Yes, please do. We want to hear from you. I see something in the chat.
Come on in, Stephanie.
You got any of that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I have lacked self-discipline by making excuses for myself and not being true to myself, and I think that really lacked my self-discipline, I guess you could say. I wasn't very true to myself, and I definitely learned from that. And now I know if things are a little tough in school or if things aren't the way it should be, that I should be true to myself so that I can correct what I need to be corrected.
No, that's good. Thanks for sharing that, Stephanie. I think a lot of times we feel like everyone else has it under control or no one else goes through this. And I know we talked about this earlier in the summer. I don't know if you guys were there with imposter syndrome, but it is something that it is a struggle that we go through. But it's important, like you said, to keep moving. I think, Carol, go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Hi everyone. So for me, actually, last semester, I didn't do well, so well academically. And so towards the end, that's when I realized hey, you kind of basically just sabotage yourself. You weren't studying. It could have easily went well, but I just wasn't truly motivated during that time. And after talking to my advisor at the end and reflecting, that's when I was thinking to myself hey, you need to change things. Next semester, you need to be more responsible and start taking action. Don't let your anxiety or your nervousness hold you back. So that's why I'm excited for this semester and even a little scared, but I know that I can do it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Carol. I think hold on to that excitement, let that drive you. And that's the perfect thing that you did when you knew that you weren't doing what you're supposed to do as far as studying. You reached out to your advisor, someone who's there to motivate you and get you what you need. And I think that's really key, is that we find those people when we don't feel motivated to help motivate us. And I'll tell everyone on this call right now, we've been through COVID and it feels like COVID is restarting, but it's been a year and a half. We've heard unprecedented time numerous times, but it's truly not a time that most people have ever had to deal with. So I know a lot of you that are sophomores have only had probably a semester in person. The freshmen, you guys are coming in. The juniors have only had a year and a half. So everyone is really coming in fresh. Even if you have been in person before, So keep that in mind, that a lot of the things that you're feeling, a lot of other people are feeling too. So don't feel like you're alone.
All right, Dr. Ruiz, was there something you wanted to share now?
No, can you guys hear me? I don't know.
Yes,
I have-
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
good. Oh, my friends are back. It feels so good to hear your voices. And you guys are doing an amazing job. No, I just wanted to, there's a lot of students on the call who are sharing who are new to the speaker series because we just have a brand new cohort at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So I'm glad to hear all of the students who are chiming in. So I know you guys, you don't need an introduction at all, but maybe towards the end, just a little blurb about kind of your journey would be helpful. But these are all great questions and great feedback. And I think all of us can learn how to exercise a little self-discipline. Even us older people can learn some new tricks on that. So thank you.
No problem. Let's go to the next slide, Paul. So we'll go ahead and go through this one. This is your no, sorry, Paul. That's your slide, Dr. Ruiz. So we spoke about this. Actually, it's actually sad that we have to do this, but we talked about this particular content exactly a year and a half ago when we kicked off the very first speaker series, summer speaker series, and we just thought it was important to bring this back because we're right back in the same situation with some of the challenges that you all are facing. And so we just wanted to touch on a few of these items to help manage the stress that's going to come. It's going to be there, right? That's just the nature of the beast, but it's how we cope with it, how we manage it, and how we navigate through it. And I'll tell you, I have not been great at all of these. I will admit, I have not done well with all of these items. So I wanted to get your feedback on if any of these have worked for you with dealing with some of the stress that comes, the anxiety that can come with being in college, and if you've done any of the other things that to help manage the stress that could come with kicking off the school year here. I have to start calling on people.
Yeah, y'all gotta raise your hands.
We had a hand raised. Feel free to speak, guys. This is your session, your moment. Your voice needs to be heard. We attend many webinars and things where you're just a number in the audience. But this is a little different what we do here on Wednesday nights. This is your opportunity. We're here for you to help you navigate. We got plenty of students who have graduated, going on to do wonderful things, and we just want you to know this is your family, and this is a group of people who's going to be with you through the long haul, through the tough days. We actually created the Summer Speaker Spirit series because of how tough it got. So we wanted to be a solution to the problem. So I just want you to know that if you're uncomfortable, this is a safe place to share, to speak, to be vulnerable, because our responsibility is to help you push through. All right, well, we'll keep going then. All right, well, now I absolutely want to hear your voice. So as we go into this semester, we got two questions. What activities do you feel you need more time for? And what activities do you feel you waste time on as we kind of wrap up with time management discussion? I'll give you a moment to kind of think about some responses there. Please use the raise your hand feature there. What activities do you feel you need more time for? And what activities do you feel you waste time on? All right, Deja.
I definitely waste too much time on Facebook. That has to stop. But I feel like I probably need more time for like, like just daily like house activities and stuff. And especially like with school about to start, I have to learn how to manage, like the stuff that I have to do in my personal life on top of school and, on top of, because on top of being pregnant, I also have a daughter too. So, I just have to manage all of that.
Deja, I'll tell you a challenge that I sent out for myself halfway through the year. And thank you for your vulnerability there. Was I said, I am no social media for the rest of the year. So once I made my trip here, I said, focused on there's some financial things I want to accomplish, some health things I want to accomplish, family things, professional things, and I'm just going, I think LeBron James called it 0 dark 30 with social media. Now I did keep my LinkedIn from a professional standpoint and it's beneficial with my career. But other than that, I have not been engaged. I took it off my phone. So I didn't even get tempted to go onto it.
Actually, all of last spring semester, I deleted every social media app that I had. And then I ended up re-downloading like sometime over the summer. So
It's all right. We just have to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to be doing that again.
So Evan also said about the electronics. One thing that I will say is I believe, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, we could set like reminders or things to tell us to, there's certain times of the day we shouldn't be on it, or that you've exceeded like your allotment for the day. You can give yourself a certain amount of time as well. Is that, am I stating that right? That feature is available for social media apps?
Yeah, I believe you could do that, and then, but it's really easy to push a button to turn it off too. So just keep scrolling.
As soon as you turn it on, you can turn it off, huh?
Yeah, that's where the self-discipline comes in, right? Now, I'm right there with you all as far as the social media. I don't know how many different times I've had to delete TikTok and Instagram because I was wasting way too much time on there.
Well, one thing you may want to do is like, say over the next week, don't change anything, but make a commitment to yourself that at the end of the week, or even if you already have it, just look at your stats. Look at your phone and look at the time that you've spent on those apps combined. And then ask yourself, what is the main thing? And if you just put half of the time that you were on those apps towards the education or towards, some relaxation time, some time with family, some phone conversation with friends. If you just put half, like don't take everything away, but just half of that, how much more could have been accomplished in both your academic and your personal life if you just gave half of that time back to the world? Just something, a little exercise to do for yourself. We'll move forward here, Paul. Oh, yeah, we'll go one more. All right. Oh, so here are some of the struggles that we have with time management. So as we try to, stay motivated to push through a strong first semester, we have to be organized. We said we have to have the discipline. And one of those main disciplines is in time management. Like this could make it a lot more enjoyable for you. It also can allow for something that's complicated and maybe stressful for you. It can make it seem a little bit more digestible once you're organized and you plan and you're like, okay, this is how I'm gonna do this. But when things seem to just be coming at you and you don't have it written down or a plan developed, it can seem overwhelming and lead to stress. Sometimes things are it's just a lot to do. It's not really stressful, but until you jot it down and realize, okay, this is how I'm accomplishing it, you can change stress into a plan. Stress can be transitioned into a plan. It's stress sometimes because it was unplanned. So I would like to hear your feedback on if you've done well in this area, if there was maybe a time when you didn't do so well, if any of these things are aligned with you on why you struggle, and what are some of the things you did to get back in order? And this doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be something, you know, so superly profound. It could be like, you know, some simple item that just worked. Because sometimes with time management, it's not the complicated things, it's the simplistic things that keep us structured. Come on in, Stephanie.
So I've noticed that a great way to keep time management. So instructors, they'll hand out syllabuses, and sometimes, well, most times, the syllabuses aren't always on track. So you have to find your own way to time manage what they're going through. So a good way I did was Post-it notes, and I would write each week instead of each month or go by the syllabus. I would do each week and write it down. And then also I would wear a watch instead of looking at my phone for time, because that's where that self-discipline comes into play, and I end up wanting to scroll. So I'll use a watch, and not like an Apple Watch, just a cheap watch. You could just check the time, and then that's it.
Awesome, awesome. Anybody else like to share? Saul?
Hi, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Hi, let me introduce myself first. My name's Saul Flores, and I'm actually a senior at Oklahoma State. So I'll be graduating with a degree in actuarial science next year. And one of the, I guess what I was gonna say first is that one of the first things that I've noticed that leads me to like just not managing my time well is one of the things that I see here that I'm reading where you're mentioning procrastination. And one of the biggest factors for me, at least, that leads to procrastination is fear of what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm usually, especially when it comes to some of the math classes, if I'm not really understanding the subject matter as easily as I would like to, then I kind of push it off to the side as long as possible. And I've noticed that, like you mentioned before, one of the biggest things that I can do is just be diligent and pushing myself to just do what's uncomfortable, because hopefully, and this doesn't work all the time, but like most of the time, I'll eventually start to like just kind of start breaking down the bigger problems into smaller chunks. And it just kind of makes it a little bit easier to just start understanding what I'm supposed to be doing. And eventually, if whether it be a homework assignment or a big project, it just starts to come together. And as I'm working on it, it just becomes easier over time. But I think that's a struggle. I guess I don't know if everyone faces it, but I seem to face it every semester, like where at the beginning of whether it be a new project or like every new class, when I don't know what the expectations are, it just kind of requires that I just push myself through and just kind of get to the other side and see, at least try and see how well I could do.
Awesome, awesome, great feedback. There's some feedback in the chat saying how relatable and aligned with others that is. So thank you so much for that feedback. Looks like Amir also wants to share some feedback there.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, is that Aska?
Yeah,
or
it's
Aska?
It's Aska, but you can say
Aska.
it the same way. Yeah, you can say it both ways. It's
Okay,
right.
awesome. Nice to meet you.
Hi. So basically I wanted to point out the same the same issue that I have is procrastination. But actually last semester I went to this seminar about procrastination and I learned something really interesting. So procrastination is sort of like a side effect of being a perfectionist, like Saul said. How the reason a lot of people procrastinate is because a lot of the times an assignment is hard and they fear doing it the wrong way. So something I did last semester was actually the second I got an assignment or the second I got any homework, I would like start it the second I got it, even if it is just writing a single line. So that way I would use my perfectionism to my benefit. And basically it would make me sort of push to finish the assignment because I've already started it and it would bother me to not have it finished. So it's kind of like, I guess it's really interesting because it's kind of like tricking your brain into doing an assignment that it would on other times want you to procrastinate on. So yeah.
That is an awesome technique. 'Cause I think procrastination is one of the toughest things because just starting things is hard because there's that perfectionist that you want to do everything right. You want to have all your ducks in a row. Everything has to be aligned right. Have the pictures just right. Everything on your table right. But the fact that you're able to use your perfectionism and just write a word or a sentence and just start it, and then that motivated you because you want to complete it, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that strategy.
Awesome, awesome. We'll go to the next slide, Paul. So we have a few resources. We've shared some of these resources before, but we just wanted to share a few of these resources to ensure that there's places that you can go to get some guidance and some support as we navigate through this challenging time again. And I do want you to know, we'll go ahead, go to the next slide, Paul. But as we get ready to like really gear up and get knee deep into this semester, I want you to know that it's okay to not be okay. We put on a face for the world every day. And sometimes that face is not the face that we really see when we look in the mirror. I want you to know that it's okay to not be okay. But it's also okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to your professors. It's okay to reach out to the resources that the institution may have. For those that have LSAMP, champions and leads at your institution, go to them, talk to them, let them know some of the challenges that you're facing. Our responsibility is to help you guide you and guide you through some of these areas. We're not perfect. I wasn't perfect. I had my challenges. I still deal with life challenges, but I'm learning to be more vulnerable with people. And I know that there's a trust factor that may have to be developed with that, with believing that people have your best interest in hand when you share with them. But I say sometimes give people a chance. There's a lot of good in the world, and I think we have to give the world a chance at times. But we can only do that by being vulnerable and knowing that we don't have to hold it all in. So I wanted you to know that we care about you, we care for you, and we want you to know that this is going to be a challenge, right? This is going to be a challenge. You signed up and you knew it was going to be a challenge, but sometimes we just didn't know how challenging. And so I just wanted you guys to hear that from us today as we start the semester, and know that as we continue to work with you throughout the semester, we got your backs, and we'll be here to support you along the way. It looks like there was some feedback. It says, I also want to add to speak with the professor on a one-on-one basis. Professors know whom is serious and whom is not, but are there to help you. So yes, that's great feedback. Please give that professor a chance, speak directly to them if possible, and let them know what those needs are. What I like to do is just real quick as we wrap up, this is our first session. It kind of feels weird because like first session of the semester, but we just did the summer. So this is our first of the fall semester. We want you to be encouraged, and we thank you for sacrificing your time to be with us today. Any feedback, anybody like to raise their hand and give any feedback today on our session? How are you feeling going into semester? Are you a little bit more encouraged? Do you feel, you know, that this conversation was needed to just kind of maybe take a deep breath and get kickstarted for this semester? And you can feel free to use the raise your hand feature. We'll gladly have you take yourself off mute.
And as you guys think about your questions, I do want to put a plug in. So I think a lot of people on here probably know about NALA. And from what Dr. Flores has said, maybe some people don't. So we do have our mentorship program starting up in the fall. And we just started opening up for students to get mentors today. I'm going to put that in the chat. So I think that's a great opportunity as you go into this semester. You need someone that's gone before you. These are alumni that have been in your shoes, maybe not necessarily your organization, in your LSAMP organization, but they've been through LSAMP, and those would be great resources. So NALA is the National Association of LSAMP Alumni. I'm currently acting as the president, and we have a lot of people who want to support you. So I'm going to put that in the chat, but if you guys have questions or comments about the session, go ahead.
Before we close out, give it one last chance to let your voice be heard. Give us a bit of feedback or just your thoughts as you head into the semester. Hopefully, just having this discussion today, you know, maybe gave you a moment to just take a deep breath, let your shoulders down for a moment, and really think about, do you have a plan? Are you setting yourself up from a time management standpoint? Are you starting to put the right disciplines in place to stay structured? And are you starting to build those resilient muscles up so when that tough moment comes, you're ready and you'll continue to press forward? And then also just being willing to be vulnerable about where challenges arise and the struggles you may be facing, so you don't have to go at this alone. All right, well, next time I definitely want to hear even more of your voices, and we want to say thank you for joining us tonight. As you guys know, we've been doing this for a while with you. We've seen many students progress. It looks like we got some new names, some new faces here. So this is freaking awesome because I'm excited. Dr. Ruiz, thank you for bringing another crop in. You always representing come out of Milwaukee. So I'm just excited about this semester, about this new school year, and just know that from an LSMRCE standpoint, we have a lot that's coming your way. So just buckle up and continue to stay connected with us. And we have some wonderful sessions and a wonderful conference coming your way this year.
Yes, for sure. Thank you all for joining. And I know there are a couple people graduating either next year in May. I put the link there for NALA. We definitely want you to join us. But you guys all
right.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
All right, Paul, we got the first one for the semester down.
That was pretty good with